And 3, 2, we are live. Episode 9. No one told me hockey podcast. Jack, what is going on?
Let's go, dude. I'm feeling a little rusty here. I feel like we haven't done a podcast in 3 months. I haven't
It's been a
seen your
bit.
face in a long time. How are you doing today? Give me the rundown.
It's been a bit. I'm coming off a big weekend. That's actually the reason why we didn't record a podcast.
Yeah.
I'm coming off a big weekend traveling back from the University of North Dakota.
That's probably a long travel day, too, coming from there.
Oh, yeah. I left. I think the way there was a bit longer. I was the first flight of the day out of Boston Airport.
Yeah.
It's a 5:30 departure. So we were boarding at like 4:45.
Did you have to wait for like TSA to open up the gates?
Oh, they had one like person working the identification thing prior to the security. And
was this line
yeah. Oh, it was huge at 4:40 in the morning. It was huge.
That's ridiculous. You figured you'd start off strong in the morning, maybe 2, 3, get the line buzzing. So when it comes later in the day,
it was like the F team working, like not the A team. Literally the F team.
Yeah,
they're not even checking. They're not even checking boarding passes anymore. It's like here's your ID. Boom, you're in. Like
yeah. I mean, especially with that crew. Maybe with I don't mind a little stricter check. You know,
I'm all for.
I'm all for take, especially like some of these places aren't requiring the shoe takeoff, like no jewelry, belts. And at least in Salt Lake, and I'm like, you know what? I want to take my shoes off. I want everyone in here to take their shoes off, take your belt off.
And
I don't mind.
When we were flying from Fargo back, the Fargo airport's like literally the size of like one ice rink. Like it's that small. Just one thing. They were like, they're like, leave your stuff in your bags, leave your clothes on, just walk right through. I was like, whoa. Whoa. I want to make it through safe.
Right, leave your rifle in the bag. Don't worry about it.
Exactly.
Especially up there, there's definitely some guys there who just forget their pocket knife in their pocket up there.
It was an interesting crowd. It was a very interesting crowd. Not only at the game, but at the airport, restaurants. But I loved it. It was a great trip.
Yeah, I mean, my girlfriend, obviously, she's from North Dakota, so I go up there quite often now, and I do like the culture up there and stuff. It's pretty cool. It's definitely different than where we're from, for sure. But awesome people and really nice, I find.
I think that what was nice about it, right, is a degree of simplicity where it's like, all I got to do, I go to work. Like there was some farming going on, a lot of land. Mm-hmm. Like there was not a lot of I'm from Lake Worth, Florida. It's like kind of north of Fort Lauderdale. It's like you're buzzing everywhere you look. There's people, like there's buildings, like it's very flat, it's simple. It was appealing. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Whenever Madison's flying into where she's from, I go, oh, who's picking you up? She goes, oh, I don't know, I'll just text someone when I land. I'm like, what? Like in Chicago, you got like 5 days out in advance, someone has to know who's picking you up, what time. You gotta leave 2 hours early so you don't get caught in traffic. She's like, yeah, I'll just figure it out when I land. I'm like, wow, totally different world.
Speaking of pickups, I Ubered to the airport from a parking garage in Boston because like the parking at the airport was so expensive.
Yeah.
You can't just go outside the baggage and order an Uber. You have to go to like the designated Uber area.
Yeah.
It took me longer to find the designated Uber area than it was the flight.
It's like a treasure map, like trying to follow the signs, dude.
Because they refer to it like, why not just call it Uber area? They call it ride app area. I'm like, I'm not using the ride app. I'm using Uber. They were referring to ride apps.
Yeah, right. Every airport too has different names for those pickup places, so it's awfully confusing on where to go. Yeah, I agree. Those things are a battle to find.
Yeah, shout out to my Uber driver though, because I ordered it when I got off the plane. He waited for me like 20 minutes.
Oh, really? Because I used to drive for Lyft, and so once you get there and you hit I'm here, you get like a 5-minute timer for them to come out, and then you have to call them once you make contact with them and you hang up. Then you can leave technically if they're not there, really? And you get paid for it. It used to be $5, now it's down to $3. So if someone wouldn't come out and like I'd call them and they'd be like, "Oh, I'm whatever 5 minutes away," I would just say didn't show and take the $5 because I'm wasting money. I'm wasting time.
I texted him right away. You know how you could like message them?
Yeah.
I messaged him right away. I was like, landed, ordered, like I'm trying to find you, and he was very good. He was trying to back and forth. So shout out to him.
Yeah, seriously. Most Uber drivers are not like that. They're going to take the money and skedaddle on you.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Okay, so give me the let's just get into it then. Give me the rundown on the North Dakota trip. So give them the reason on why you were there and stuff, and give us the rundown. I'm excited to hear about this. I haven't talked to you yet.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was great. So the reason I went out there, my roommate from school, Ryan Sidorsky is his name. He played with me at Union for 4 years, and he did his 5th year at the University of North Dakota. He's one of my closest friends. Been through a lot together. I mean, he was there for my surgery. He was there for everything. So it was their senior night. I'd never been out there, and I was like, why not? Like, got a little bit of time in my schedule. So I made the trip. Got to see him play 2 games. They played the University of Nebraska Omaha for
Good
2.
games. Yeah.
Very good games. Yeah, the first one they won in overtime. The second one in regulation. So actually puts them against them in the playoffs this upcoming weekend.
Where's the playoff game at?
At UNO. So in Nebraska.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
but
they didn't get home.
No, they didn't get home. But I mean, they knew that going into the weekend. But it was a matter of who they were going to be playing. But it was incredible. I mean, the tour. He gave me a tour of the facility.
Did he?
Oh my god!
Was it insane?
Like, I'm not exaggerating. And you could look online, right? People could Google YouTube, and they have a series called Through These Doors where it's basically like a weekly episode that they put together. That's not going to do it justice. Like, just being in there, I mean, amazing, top notch. Like, no wonder they're the best college place to play in the whole country.
So in the North Dakota like facilities? What was the coolest thing that you saw during like when he was showing you around that you're like, wow, that's a nice touch?
I think there's two things. First thing, in their gym, which is just for hockey players,
they have a high rink? Is it in the rink?
It is, yes.
Okay.
It's in the locker. Yeah.
Okay, they're not going too far.
Yeah, no. They have a high altitude training room. So for when they play Denver and when they play Colorado College, they have a room.
Four games out of the year. They made a special room.
They have a room that they can shut the doors to, and it like limits the oxygen. So they have a high altitude room for that training week. It's amazing.
Really? Wow.
It was amazing. And then the second thing, and this is probably the coolest of them, and you can find this all online. Like, this isn't any secret information, but I thought it was great, is they have like a recovery room, which is basically like a couple like tanning beds, some nap pods, some water beds.
They have tanning beds?
Yeah, it's like kind of light. And then they have like the like the cryotherapy, like the freeze room.
Yeah.
It was amazing. I mean, all around, just incredible.
Do they still have the tubs with the treadmills in them? I think they have.
Yeah. That's like, that was like nothing compared. Like, that wasn't even impressive.
I remember when I went there and toured around there, I saw the tubs with the treadmills. I'm like, this was way back in the day too. I'm like, that's pretty cool. I don't think too many places had that.
You know what this is interesting though is like, so my buddy's obviously walking me around, right? There's a youth tournament going on at the Ralph that weekend.
Yeah.
And they were giving youth tours, right? And I'm watching them give this tour, right? There's a huge group of kids. Every single kid is walking around with their phone in their face like this.
Yeah, they're not even.
Like, put the phone away. Just enjoy what you're looking at. Like, this guy is telling you about the history of the room. Like, he's just looking at a bunch of guys on their phones, putting it on Snapchat. It's like, put the Snapchat away. Just enjoy what you're looking at. Like, you're never going to be in there again.
It would be, well, hopefully maybe one or two of them.
Okay, maybe one or two. Sorry, so pretty harsh.
No, but I mean, you're absolutely right. It'd be a cool rule, honestly. Like, if you're on those tours and stuff, like no cameras or no phones out. Like, especially because like privacy. Like, if guys are walking around, like guys on the team and stuff too. Like, you kind of want to give them privacy as well. So that'd be cool though if they did like a no phone policy. One for that, but then also for these kids to like actually soak it in. Because I remember when I went there, my brother's playing in a showcase up there, and so I went on a tour with like him and his team and the parents, and I was walking around there, and TJ Oshie was in there because it was like during the summer, and he was training, and it was really cool. He was like sitting at like some desk, like I don't know what he was doing, but it was really cool to see him just in person, just there, just randomly there.
Yeah, it's amazing. Really, I mean, cool. I think like one of the coolest moments of the whole weekend was like after the second game, which was their last game at the Ralph. Like, me and my buddy just kind of like sat up top and just kind of like took it all in. We were like, man, like,
oh really?
I was like, man, like, I'm so like proud of you. And like, he was like, no, like, I mean, without you, like, it was great. It was great.
Oh, that is super cool.
Yeah, we kind of just got some time to just like take it in, which was like so fun.
I'm sure that's super nice for him too, to just take a step back and like, especially with like a close friend, and
It was great. It was a great weekend.
Oh,
I mean, and
that's so cool.
the hockey was great to watch. I mean, so many skilled players. The crowd was
Yeah.
great. It was so cool.
Yeah. So was it packed for both games?
Yeah. Yeah. Probably like 10 to 12,000 both nights. Funny story. I guess I went to the grocery store one of the days, and one of the workers was wearing a Sioux jersey, like their jersey. Now, where I played at Union, right? If somebody's wearing a Union jersey in the grocery store, you're going to comment on it. You're going to say like, "Oh, nice jersey."
Oh, for
Like,
sure.
great.
Right. Yeah.
So me, like unknowingly, was like, "Oh, like great jersey," and they like looked at me like I was crazy. Like, why would you even like? Everybody wears their jersey on. Like, it's just like normal life around there. Like, you support the team. Like, so they knew I was like an outsider.
It's like Texas high school football where they got the picket, where they got the signs up in the front yard. Everyone's ready for the weekend, dude.
It's exactly it.
You're an outsider, buddy.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly it.
I wonder if you were by yourself when you went to the grocery store?
Yeah.
I wonder if you would have went in with, right? His name's Ryan, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if you would have went in with him if they would have been able to pick him out.
We went to a couple places. Like, we went to a breakfast place and it was packed. Like, packed. And we were like, oh boy, like there's a big line. And like they saw like his jacket and they like seated us right away.
No
like,
way, actually?
Yeah. Now I said to him after, I was like, was that because of the jacket? He was like, I don't know, like maybe, but like also as we were only a party of 3. But I thought that was
pushing it. There's definitely some parties of 4 sitting there.
Yeah. So there was that, and like I mean that's fine to share. And I think that we were in an Uber once and they kind of knew who the guys were in the Uber that we were with. And like,
oh, okay. Yeah.
And when we went to some restaurants, like same type of thing. Like, I mean, these guys are like celebrities there. It's cool.
Yeah. So is it like actually like, cause it's like a fairly small town. So is it
very
like
small.
Pretty much everyone knows who they are? It's not like they're
to an extent.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. To an extent. I mean, look, I'm not there. It's not like they're walking around. People are like asking for autographs, but like, post game people are. And like during the game, like it's interesting. I sat in the parent section. Like, obviously, like that's where they left the tickets.
Yeah.
It's like, I have a lot of respect for hockey parents because now I'm looking at it and that is stressful.
Oh.
Right? Like, you're watching your kid, like I'm watching my friend. And if they mess up, this whole place is booing. Like, they're like, what are we doing? You got to shoot. You got to do this. And like, you got to make a save. And it's like, I'm sitting next to the parents of these kids.
All their
like,
parents are there probably, right? Because it's like the last weekend of the senior night or whatever, if they have it. And so it's probably a bunch of parents there too. Yeah, they're booing your kid and the guy next to
we're like, whoa, like relax, buddy. Like, we're going to be fine here. So
right. Oh, I would, if I was a parent like that, especially at that magnitude of like school and level of hockey, it's like that. You don't know where like one game could change his career or something potentially.
Yeah.
And
it was awesome. It was a great trip.
That's super cool. Do you think so? I was just thinking of this when we were going through it because North Dakota obviously is like an insane hockey school. Do you think they have nicer setup than some NHL teams? Like,
yes, 100%.
Because like, you know, Alabama football, like some of those kids go from Alabama to the Jets, New York Jets, and they're like, what is this? Yep. Like, it's like a step down almost in terms of 100%. Facilities.
100%. I mean, that gym, I believe it was a $7 million renovation just for the gym.
Wow.
That is just incredible. The locker rooms are incredible. 3 meals a day. The chef is incredible. Like it was top. I mean, it is a step down for a lot of teams, I believe.
That's so crazy. I mean, it makes sense though, like for a place like that, like the amount of funding they get and stuff compared to like an NHL team. Obviously they have owners with a lot of money, but they're only willing to put in so much.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's amazing.
It's
amazing.
Awesome that you got to go there.
Yeah. I do want to say, like, before we move on from that, like, while we are like glorifying the North Dakota hockey a lot, right? These kids are working extremely hard. Like, this is not an easy life for them. Like, it's high pressure, right? Like, they know when they're doing bad. Like, the media lets them know when they're doing bad. So a lot of credit to these guys too. Like, they've worked hard to get there. So yeah, like they live the life of kings, but at the same time, like they're working extremely hard to get there. So shout out to them for that.
Yeah, 100%. Well said. I totally agree with that. Okay, so let's get into, so I believe you had a men's league game tonight.
I am coming from a men's league. We tied up the championship series.
How about we go from North Dakota to men's league?
To men's league. Hey, you know what? And guess what? Those North Dakota guys, 10 years. Some of them are going to be in the NHL.
Yeah.
Some of them will be playing men's league as well.
Yeah,
So
you got that right. Oh, that's funny.
yeah.
Okay, anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, we won. We tied it up. Series is tied 1-1 last week. I don't think we talked. Did I talk about blocking a shot last week? I ate one
we
off the
did. Yeah,
ankle and I was checked out. Yeah. So tonight there was no blocks. A little chippy toward the end.
Did it?
But we got a Game 3 championship coming up.
Ooh.
Did you play over the weekend? Did you have a game?
Yeah, so we are in playoffs too, and it's like a 2-game elimination bracket. So we're in the winners bracket. We haven't lost yet. So we have 2 wins, but this last game was against the number 1 seed in the country. No, just
in the country.
Number 1 seed in the tournament. And we're probably the best team on paper, but like half our guys just never show up. So once we get people there, it's like we're buzzing. And this game was getting so chippy. Like the other team was bitching the entire time about every little thing, and we were just we were having fun on our bench. And yeah, we ended up winning 5-3. Got the first goal. I actually So I gotta give a shout out here though. So I think I told you that No Name Hockey sent me a stick.
Yes.
And so for anyone who's not familiar with it, No Name Hockey, they're like they're gonna no name sticks. Like they don't have really a brand associated with them besides No Name, and they're $150 stick. And I used it for the first time, and I will say for like $150 stick, it's not comparable to like the top end sticks, but I would say it's like comparable to like a team stick. If you've ever used like a team issued like team stick, it's similar to that. So it's a little bit heavier. But overall for like $150, like I would easily use that all day, especially for like younger kid or like where I'm at now. Like I've been using those sticks pretty much in college and everything. So I loved it. And I got the first goal of the game with it. First
setting the tone.
Yeah, I set the tone early, drove the net hard.
So if you wanted one of those sticks, what would you do? You'd search online No Name Hockey.
Yeah. So it's No Name Hockey, and yeah, I think they're $150. And for especially how crazy sticks are these days, like for a young kid or like someone like us right now, I think it's like a perfect stick. I don't know if I would use it.
It's not the wand, it's the wizard. It's not the wand.
Yeah,
it's the wizard.
You're right, because I ripped a goal with it and I've only scored like 1 all year. So no, but we got the win. But like it's so funny like how these guys like they want to be buddy, and then as soon as like it gets a little intense, these guys like lose their cool.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
That is so true.
It's like they can't laugh off anything. It's so ridiculous.
No, they're not laughing. Tonight, like I was messing around with some guys on the other team, like by the bench, like kind of just talking. And the next shift, I'm eating a cross check. I was like, okay, like this is a lot to handle, and I'm not looking for that.
I know, and I'm not doing any of that. Like I'm gonna go hard, but like at the same time, I'm gonna like play within the limits.
Yes.
Some of these guys are like yelling like crazy, cross checking me. I got cross checked 5 times in front of the net one time. I was on the power play, being net front.
That's a lot.
5 cross checks. I was like, dude,
you're not looking for that.
You're not looking for that. By 3 different people too. It wasn't the same guy every time. But we got the win, and we're on to the next. Let's go.
That's why I love it. I love it. So we're both on to our next playoff game on this next Tuesday. I'll keep the No Name crew involved as I talk to some other guys about some sticks, and I'll keep the No One Told Me Hockey podcast involved, see if we win.
Let's go. So, all right. So I want to get into this real quick. So like I said before, I think my goal I set when we did like the New Year's podcast was to do a triathlon. I think I said that.
Yeah, definitely did.
So I have officially started my training on Monday, this past Monday, for the triathlon. It was, so I'll give you the rundown. So the first day, Monday, yesterday, was a 30 to 40 minute swim. It was like a easier swim to work on form, but it was still 30. I did 37 minutes straight of swimming.
Just back and forth?
Yeah, 25-meter pool, so it's not incredibly long, but yes, back and forth for 37 minutes. You got to be gassed. So my like respiratory wasn't, is that what you would call it? Your respiratory system?
Respiratory system. Lungs?
Lungs. My lungs weren't bad. It was more of like my back, my lower back and my legs, and then my feet were cramping. Because I think I clench them a little bit.
Are you drinking water? You got to be hydrating.
No, I'm not drinking water.
Yeah, you got to somehow get like some sort of like sucker or something.
Well, what about in the triathlon? Am I going to drink water in the middle of a lake?
Maybe got like a water bag or backpack or something.
No, dude. I was just trying to keep the water out of my mouth. Because a couple times I was like, I got it like when I was doing the breathe. I kept getting a little in my mouth.
How are the ears? How are the ears today?
I wear earplugs.
Oh.
I bought like swimming earplugs.
That doesn't throw you off like vertigo?
No, that's way better. So no water gets inside. It's way nicer because whenever I do that, if I'm swimming without earplugs and you do that head tilt and there's just like floods water in there and then you can't get it out, that's
Did
what
you have a
causes
cap?
vertigo.
Did you have a
No,
cap?
I don't have a cap yet. I'm gonna get one.
What about like a torpedo suit?
Nope, I just wear my underwear in there. How do you feel about that? They were clean though.
It's a public pool.
Yeah,
it's a public pool.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's not okay, but it's not like I was wearing a pair of like Family Guy boxers.
Yeah, you're wearing like Under Armour.
It was like a Lulu tight boxer brief that went down to like mid thigh, a little bit.
So you're trying to be as aerodynamic as possible.
Yeah, yeah, and I got a nose plug too. I got a nose plug. Also.
So you're getting in. So people are watching you. There, maybe somebody's on the tread, like just trying to walk it out, and they're watching you with Family Guy boxers on, nose plug, ear plug, and goggles.
Full get up, dude. Well, because the triathlon is the swimming part is in a lake, and you want your nose plugged if you're swimming in a lake.
You're not worried about an alligator?
Not up here.
I mean, maybe.
No.
What about like a snake?
That I am a little concerned about. Yes, I am concerned about some animals being in there potentially, but there's going to be a lot of people swimming. So I'm really
maybe a shark thinks it's a pack of fish.
Right. Right. Dang.
They see a bunch of things flopping around. Next thing you know, chomp. Done. Soul surfer.
So then today was day 2, right? And today was my 30 to 40 minute run. Working on, it was like an easier run, but working on form. And I'm not gonna lie, I wanted to quit running like 4 different times. Like, running is a battle. Like my knees aren't built for it. My ankles, they're weak from the hockey skates, and I get foot cramps. So I wanted to quit a couple times, but I ended up doing it. I got 3.5 miles in
3.5. That's pretty good.
Yeah, in 37 minutes.
I'm looking up right now. There's a book. I believe it's called I think this is it. Out of Thin Air, Running Wisdom and Magic from Above the Clouds of Ethiopia. It's
those guys basically are insane.
Yeah, but what's interesting is like this could be a different book, but if I remember correctly, there's a guy who's like all about the new technology in shoes, like the new Nikes and like the new Asics have like these nice big cushions and blah 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 blah. So he brings these shoes like to Ethiopia and has these people run in them, and they like don't like it,
right?
Because like something with like the bounce. So like I don't know. I always think of that when I'm running. So I figure I'd bring it up.
Because I always hear like running like without all that cushion and stuff is better for you as well. I don't know if that's true, but I like it. I like it. I got a pair of running shoes the last week, and I like wearing them for running compared to I don't like the stomping my knees and stuff. Just
it's tough on the knees. Tough on the knees. So it's a one-on-one battle. Running.
I was battling. I was on like lap because I was running on a track. So I was on like outdoor track, and I was on like lap 8 or 9, and that's where I really started to struggle because I'm like, I'm definitely halfway, but I don't know how far I am because I had my timer on my phone and just in my pocket, so I wasn't looking. I just wanted to run until it went off, and that was a tough one. Also, I don't have a watch or anything, so we
gotta get you a watch.
I have no idea like heart rate, distance, nothing. It's all just in my head. I know, dude. So if any,
I'm rocking the Apple Watch right now, partly because of my heart stuff, partly because I enjoy the watch. But it's a game changer when you're working out. Kind of get to see a little bit more, and it's easy.
Well, I have an Apple Watch, but like a month ago, the touchscreen just stopped working. So I can't unlock it, and like so I can't even start the workout on it. I tried to start it on my phone. I couldn't do that either. So I don't know what's going on, but right now I'm just going purely off feel. Just
you versus you.
Yeah.
You versus you.
No technology involved.
It's kind of nice. It's kind of nice.
It is. It's a mental game though, for sure. Like
now, are you listening to music?
So today I listened to Joe Rogan today on the run because I like music and it kind of can pump me up, but then it gets really stale.
Yep.
And my brain starts to go crazy. Whereas if I'm listening to a podcast, I can think more about that topic and kind of focus on that more. What about you?
All in the breath.
Yeah, it is. What do you I know you go to OT, so it's like.
I was gonna say, I don't know if I think I'm running by myself. I used to do music a lot. I did podcasts when I was doing a longer run, just because it keeps your like mind on something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I haven't really done a long run with like music or anything like that, but like recently. But I think back in the day, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I like the podcast. So, do you want to get into this? Are you getting into this flight talk?
I'll save the flight talk for after the hockey. Let's get into some hockey
Okay,
stuff.
should we talk hockey?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so this is the No One Told Me Hockey podcast. So we do talk about hockey on here, even though
we could potentially change the name to the No One Told Me
podcast,
Hockey Men's League, funny story podcast, triathlon training,
Orange
get
Theory,
wider crew, bigger target market.
Yeah, eventually I think we'll expand to there. But so we do talk about hockey on this podcast, and since Fletcher was just up at a college hockey game, I feel like it's fitting to talk about college hockey a little bit here. And I want to talk about programs and how, like, from top, we'll just focus on Division I for right now because it's a little bit easier. From top to bottom, how much variation there are in like the setups and like the fan bases and like locations. So I want to get into kind of what, if you're a college hockey player, for you, like, what are some things that you would, if you could go back, like, what are some things that you would look for in a college academically, everything, like hockey wise,
Yeah, it's a good question.
I think about this all the time.
I think that looking at it now, right, like some of the coolest amenities, and when I say cool, I don't mean like cool visually, I mean cool as in like these could really help me throughout my 4 years, are some sort of like personalized study room in the rink, like some sort of lounge that I can come and do my homework that's not the library. I think that I used ours at Union a ton. It was kind of like a table setup. I think that if you have a nice area where it's like yours to come and do work, that's huge. I would say the second thing is some sort of recovery slash training room that belongs to the team. Mm-hmm. Like over your 4 years, whether it's bad knees, whether it's a bad rib, whether it's a real injury, right? Having a private area for your team, such as I'm not coming in and sitting next to football, basketball, swimming, like somebody that's just hockey, right? These high-end schools, Penn State, Michigan, North Dakota, right? They have those where it's just hockey. I think that is huge.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. We had the one that was all combined, and sometimes it's a pain to get any attention from the trainers, or if you do, it's like really rushed and they can't necessarily focus on you or like your sport specifically. And it's nothing against them.
Yeah, it's not the trainer's fault.
They just have so many athletes that are coming in and out every day that it's tough for them to manage where they put their priorities towards.
Yeah, I would say that when it comes to, right, when I'm looking at a school, right, what causes that? I think it all comes down to funding, right? Like, sadly, right, that's the world we live in, right? If you don't go to a school that has the funds, right, you're not going to get that. And that's why these the big schools, right, the Big Ten, some of the NCHC, WCHA, right, these programs have a lot of funding. Say ECAC schools too, right? A lot of the D1 schools do, but that funding varies, right? Places like North Dakota with $100 million, $25 million being put in consistently versus schools like, I don't know. I don't want to say other schools. But
I think like a good example of like Atlantic hockey, like their programs usually just aren't as funded as, other teams for the most part.
For the most part, yeah. On average, I would say on average, right? There are some that are very well funded, but on average, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the funding in college too, and it's like there's no way in college that you can like even that out really, because there's no like regulation on it. It's all donation based, like whereas in like pro sports, like there's a little bit more restrictions on not so much like the facilities and stuff, but like their rosters, and it just seems a little bit more even across because all those owners too have money.
Yes.
Right? Whereas college, it's like there's just such a difference between like a small school and then like these mega schools.
Yeah, we've talked about that before too. I think on the earlier episodes, we kind of talked about like funding making a good program. Like, look at this across all levels. Like USHL teams, right? Sioux Falls does really well, and they have a lot of funding, right? The Fairbanks Ice Dogs does really well. They do have a lot of funding, right? The U16 programs that are charging a lot, like they're likely doing pretty good. Same with prep school. Like it's across the board.
Yeah, exactly. I think if I could go back right now, and I think I did a good job on this one in terms of picking a school, is I think my biggest thing, so my two biggest things are making sure that the school that I want to go to has a program that I'm interested in, not just going to a school because of the hockey only. Because I know plenty of kids I'm friends with who play other sports as well. They went to Division 1 schools and they got like nothing wrong with it, like a communications degree, and they spent money at the school and they have debt at the school, or they owe money, and they have this communications degree, and now they come out and they don't know what to do. So that I think I was really happy that I chose a school that I knew had a major that I was super interested in pursuing, and I think that made it a lot easier to make my decision, having that confidence in that part of it. And then the other thing that I think, these are both outside of hockey, is the location of the school. For me, like I knew that I didn't, if I was going to go play D3 college, I didn't want to necessarily be in the middle of nowhere. I kind of wanted to be a little bit more busy. And so Milwaukee was a great option for me because our school was in the heart of the city, like so much going around, like so many things happening every day. And that really worked for me. So I think the two biggest things for me is like location and making sure that they have programs that you like outside of hockey.
Yeah, academically, it's a great points there. Like you have to realize like you're going to play college hockey, right? You're going to be a student athlete, right? Not an athlete student. I think I've said that
Yeah.
before on here is right. Academically, you need to have a fit in terms of, right, what do I like? Do I like big classes? Do I like small classes? Do I
Yep.
like teachers knowing my name? Or am I someone who just wants to be a number, right? Which isn't a bad thing, right? If you're not necessarily a student, if you like bigger learning environments, that's fine too. But those are all things to take into consideration, right? What's the student teacher ratio, right? And like you said, what are they offering, right? If I'm interested in engineering and I want to be an engineer and I choose a school that doesn't offer engineering, I may not be setting myself up for success.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's a good point about like the larger classrooms and stuff. Like usually those classrooms are larger and you don't get as much attention, but there's also positives to that as well in terms of like resources that the school provides, in terms of whether it's like labs, like different laboratories, different like facility setups. Like those bigger schools with bigger classrooms usually have more funding where they can have these really extravagant classrooms and labs and technology, whereas like smaller school like I went to, like we had good funding, but at the same time we were also limited in a way because we didn't have that many kids going to the school. We relied heavily on like donations,
Yeah.
big donations.
It's that's a good point, right? You look at college, right? It's a time to find your path, and right, you don't need to know your path right away, right? Like, what do you want to major in? It's like, oh, I have no idea, right? You could take some entry courses as you get there and kind of figure it out as you go.
Yeah.
And then as you do that, right, it's important to try different things, right? Fail different things. That is okay. And if you're a hockey player, say you're an elite hockey player, right? You're playing Division 1 hockey, awesome. Or you're playing Division 3 hockey, awesome. And you want to be a hockey guy, right? You can be all in on hockey and manage your schedule so that you're doing other things too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very different from juniors, where juniors, right, you're hockey and then you're either video games or sleeping. Versus college, right? You're hockey, now your classes, now your social life, now you're maybe in a club, right? Maybe your team likes to go eat a certain place on a certain day, right? There's a lot going on, and that's okay in those 4 years.
I was just gonna say, like you brought up the club thing. Like I wish one thing that I would have done is got maybe more involved. I wasn't involved in any, but maybe more involved in like a club that interested me. For like mechanical engineering at our school, there's a ton of different clubs that you can do. Whether it's like they have a bunch of racing ones for like building hybrid cars or like bikes. They have like some machine shop ones, some welding ones, some rocket clubs. Like I wish I would drone flying. I wish I would have just joined like one of those that I was interested in, just to try it out and maybe meet some different people at school, because you can get kind of in your bubble, which is nothing wrong with that. Like you have 30 best friends. So it's like, why do I need more? And I don't see a problem with that. But at the same time, it is nice to have some friends outside of your team.
Yeah, I actually did. So encouraged through one of my psychology courses, which is what I majored in, was to do like a volunteer type of thing. And the club that, and I don't know, I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it's unique. Right. The thing that I ended up doing was I volunteered at Young Parent United, which was
Okay.
basically like a house for young parents.
Oh
So
wow.
like I got to meet like parents that were 14 years old with twins and like 15 years old with twins.
No
And
way.
like I was like
Oh my
driving
god.
them to high school, like picking them up from high school. It was an amazing experience. Like
Wow.
these they're kids with
Yeah.
full on children.
What do
Like
they
it,
do with the kids during the school day? Did like the high
they
school have a
well, you could drop
program
them.
or?
You could bring them to the Young Parent United like
Okay.
place, and they'd watch them there. Some of them would give them to the parents, grandparents, brothers, siblings. Like it was an
Wow.
amazing experience to learn. Like right, you talk about perspective all the time, right? For me, it was
Mhm.
like I was worried about getting the puck out of the zone. For
Yeah.
this high
Yeah.
schooler, for this high schooler, they're
Yeah.
worried about feeding their
A
baby at
human.
15. Yeah,
Yeah. Wow. That's pretty cool. That is actually really cool that you do that. I think that's always good to kind of get in some other people's shoes or perspectives and kind of see what other people are going through, because your problems, not saying that our problems aren't problems and dismissing them, but some people's problems are a little bit harder than some of our problems.
yeah. No, it was
But
nice.
everyone
It was
has their
enjoyable.
problems.
It was
Oh wow,
enjoyable.
that's really cool.
One of the babies called me dad once. That was a little odd.
I love that. You're like, call
That
me
was,
daddy. Call me
yeah. I was
daddy.
hanging out. I don't remember the kid's name, but I think the mother was at school, and I was watching the baby like at the place.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the mom came back and was like, "All right, time to go." And he was like, "Dad," and I was like, I don't know what to say." And then the main person like stepped in and was like, "No, like this is like help her, like whatever." So
You
that
can
was
tell
enough.
the people who've been around for a while because they know how to step in and handle those
Yeah,
situations. Like
there. I
you were
stuttered.
frozen. Yeah,
I
you
was
were
caught
frozen.
flat footed on the blue line.
You
Somebody's
were.
coming full speed. I was like, do I break this kid's heart and tell him I'm not the dad?
Yeah.
Like, which I wish I'm not, obviously. But then
You play
anyway,
along with it.
I'd leave there and I'd go to practice and
Yeah.
maybe
Totally
get yelled
different
at, but
world.
it is
Yeah.
what it is.
I will say too, like one thing I want to add on, like in terms of looking for college hockey programs or college in general, but mainly hockey or sports, is I didn't really think of this until like I was out of school. And you know, when you travel to all these different schools and you kind of see their setups and you see their rinks and you see their fans and you see the gear they get, that is seriously something to consider when looking at schools. Even though, so it really depends on your priorities in terms of your hockey team, but like those things are real things to consider too. You know, looking at like the actual facilities, you know, what kind of gear they get, what kind of fans do they get, like how's their locker room set up. Like those things are really real to consider, because I didn't necessarily consider those too much when I was picking a school. But then after I was like, I saw like Norbert's and Adrian, and like those are really well funded programs. Not saying that we weren't, we had a lot of good stuff, but they were like through the roof. And I had the opportunity to like play at those places, but I never really considered it. And looking back, I was kind of like, I should have considered more things, I think, than what I
Yeah.
did.
I would say in building on that, right, this is pretty important to share, I think, is like two things, right? If you are someplace already, right, the grass is not greener, right?
True.
Remember that, right? Like, say this
Yeah.
place looks amazing, right? If I go there, it does not mean my life is going to be extraordinarily better. One. Two, and I think this is huge, probably one of the bigger things in terms of like school selection is right now I'm looking at a school, right? I start to like it, right? I need to make sure that I'm a fit there, right?
Yeah.
Like I can't just say, oh, like they have all this awesome stuff, like I'm gonna go there. No,
Mm-hmm.
it's how do I fit in, right? Where do I fit in the lineup, right? Do I have a relationship with the coaches? Do I not? Am I gonna play? Am I gonna not? Right. So as I look at these things, right, Jack's saying it's important. It's 100% important, right? Because guess what? You're gonna remember the facilities. You're gonna remember these things, and that's why schools like Union and schools like a Yukon, a Sacred Heart, right? They're renovating their stuff, right, to look better, right, to keep up with that
Yeah.
allure of attracting people. But make sure, right, make sure you're a fit for what you're going to. That's at
Yeah.
any level, any level.
I totally agree. I think the number one thing, if I could go back and look at a school, was winning. I would I would replace, like, I would play with the worst gear, the worst locker room and stuff if you could just be on a winning team.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And play, like, compete in the national tournament every year
yeah,
and stuff like that is fun. That's why you play. Like that is, I would take that over probably anything though.
Yeah, something I had a teammate that said this after the locker room post game one time. I don't know what year it was, but right, we had some guys, and like there were times where we thought we were like cool, right? We had that attitude. It was like, oh, like I'm cool, like, and then we were losing
Yeah.
games,
Yeah.
right? And then this player said at the time, they said like, you know what's really cool? Like winning. Like you want to have like real fun, like win, like that's cool. And I think that's important, right? Because you say you're playing Division 3, say you're playing Division 1, high level junior, even high level youth, right? You could be the coolest guy in school, right? Oh my God, that guy plays for so and so. Or like, oh my God, that guy, he is going to this place to play, right? Want to be cool, like do well in the classroom, like be a good person, right? Win your games, right? Work hard, like that's cool, right? That adds up. And I
Yeah.
think that's like that's attractive.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like winning in all different types of your life is cool.
Yeah.
Right? Not being like that the guy on the other side of that being a dick
Yeah.
and stuff like
Yeah, you
that.
probably don't want to act like that just because you play on whatever
Right.
team.
Right, that's not cool at all.
No.
Okay, so moving on from college hockey, I want to get into this because I have been posting some videos online about this, and I've been getting a ton of feedback from a lot of parents are commenting on these videos. But I'm kind of talking about youth hockey and some of the downfalls, I think, where things kind of fall off in youth hockey. And I want to get your take on the best, what you think is the best state for youth hockey.
That is
If you want me to go first, I can go because I think about it all the time. But
it's a complex question. You go first because I want to think about how I want to word it. So you go first.
okay, so I will say there's quite a number of states that do hockey really well, but I think in terms of, so I'm going to be mainly talking about like once you're in the high school level, because everything before that is kind of wishy-wash with everywhere. Everyone's kind of in the same boat. But I'm talking more at the high school level. I think Minnesota does the best job with hockey, and I'll tell you why. So if you go to a state like Illinois, right, you have, I think now they have 5 AAA teams, and they have a ton of hockey players in that state, and they only have 5 AAA teams. So they're only allowing 100 kids to play at the top level in that state, even though there's probably kids in double A. We have good double A, or they have good double A in Illinois that are ready for that level, but there's such a bottleneck there that they can't play. So now they're limited to double A, and now they're stuck there for their career. Now they can't advance properly. I think Minnesota does a really good job because once you get to that high school level there are so many teams that get to compete at that top level in high school there. I'm sure they have different divisions, but like the top one, there's probably, I'll just say like 30 schools in that top division. So now they open the door to so many different kids who can play at that elite level, and they're almost like not gatekeeping. Whereas in some of these other states with these AAA programs, there's just not enough of them, and now they're gatekeeping kids from advancing, and then that just affects them down the road. Whereas Minnesota does a really good job at opening the door up to more kids at that elite level, and it shows like with their Division 1 commitments. They lead this country in Division 1 commitments. Granted, they have a ton of Division 1 teams in Minnesota, so it makes it a little bit easier for scouting, but still, they do a really good job in terms of letting more kids play at that elite level. Now, I will say though, sometimes I think in states there's too many AAA teams, and it can kind of get watered down. But overall, at least you're giving kids like if you're on a shitty AAA team, then that sucks. But for the most part, like it's going to even itself out, and you're allowing more kids to play. Even on those not so good AAA teams, there's still a couple kids on that team who are really good players and who will advance pretty well out of there. Whereas they might not have gotten that opportunity in, say, like a state like Illinois, where they only have a few AAA teams.
Yeah. No, really well said.
That was
really
a mouthful, but
no, that was really well said. I think that for me, right, I look at this question, it's very complex, right?
yeah.
What is the best state for hockey, for youth hockey specifically? I think in terms of access, you are 100% right in saying I'm growing up in Minnesota. There's a path to follow that's in spot for me to be a Division 1 hockey player. For example, if I grow up in Moorhead, Minnesota, and I'm using Moorhead because I have a buddy that grew up there, I can play for Moorhead youth hockey. I could play for the best team as I grow older and older and older. I could stay there. I can go to Moorhead High School, and guess what? There are guys that played at Moorhead High School that play in the NHL. right? I don't have to leave. I don't have to do anything like prep school. I don't have to do anything like leave early for a low-level junior, leave for a U16 program, right? So that in terms of growing up in a city and developing all the way through high school and then going to juniors in college, that's easy, right? Perfect.
Yeah.
Now, a disadvantage to that is, right, if I don't make that top team, now I'm pinned as a JV player. Now, some of those JV teams are so good, right? There are some good JV Minnesota high school teams, right? So the pros and cons of that, right? Growing up in my town, playing in my town, Minnesota does an awesome job. Now, if we look at some other states, like you said, Chicago, and I'm going to talk about Florida a bit because that's like where I'm from, right? There becomes a point where you need to make a decision, right? Am I going to play high school hockey or am I going to attempt to play AAA hockey, right? Or am I going to attempt to play the club route? And when I say club, I mean AA or AAA, right? Florida, for example, when I grew up, had the opportunity to play for your high school and AAA, right? It was kind of merged a bit, right? But if you were just a high school player, right, the likelihood that you were moving on afterward was not as much as if you took that AAA route. So I think depending on the state, right, you need to look at your options in terms of, say, for example, I live in New York. Do I want to grow up and play for, I'm going to say Schenectady High School? They don't even have a hockey team, but that's just where I live for school, right? Am I going to play for that high school and hope to go to juniors after? Maybe. Or am I going to look to go play for Rochester Americans club program and be on their AAA team and then go to juniors? So I think when we look at that, I'm going to say the strongest state right now for club hockey, and when I say club, I'm saying AAA programs,
right?
AAA programs. I'm going to say Michigan, just because of how many there are. Like I think just off the top of my head, Detroit CompuWare, Fox Motors, Bell Tire, Little Caesars, Oakland Grizzlies, Detroit Junior Red Wings. That's 6.
Is Meyer a team? Is that a team?
Meyer, yep. Meyer's a team. That's 7.
I don't know if it still is.
It's probably not one of the stronger ones, but it still is.
Yeah.
So there's 7 AAA teams right off the top of my head. I look at states like Chicago. Mission comes to mind right away. CYA comes to mind right away. I don't know. Not as many, but I'm going to say from a strength. And I think that Detroit probably gives the opportunity to play high school as well. But
I played actually, I think I don't want to say his name on the podcast, but my old roommate who Blaze, he played high school hockey in Michigan. And the team before that on Topeka, I played with probably like 5 to 6 Michigan high school players, and they all went Division I. So Michigan they do have their select high school teams that are very good, I will say. But then I think they do. I agree. I think they do second best at offering elite level to more players.
Yeah, I think if you look at like youth hockey in general, right? Say you're 10 years old, say you're 11 years old, right? This is not the time to be having the conversation, right? You need to be developing. You need to be having fun, right? Once you start to get to that like 14-year-old, right? Maybe you're a freshman in high school. Start to like have that conversation with your parents, right? What do I really want out of hockey? If it is to play Division I, if it is to play Division III, likely you're going to be playing juniors at some time. So what path is going to get me there, and to what junior league am I going to fit in, right? That's pretty important.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think especially just for me, like I'm biased to Illinois, and like seeing how it worked out for me in terms of trying to make a triple A team. It can be super, because like when I was playing AAA too, for the U16 level, they only had one U16 team. They didn't have U15 and U16. So they had two age groups merging together at once, trying out for 4 AAA teams. You know how many good hockey players there are in Illinois for only 4 AAA teams? It can be super frustrating for these kids who are ready for that next level, and they just can't take that step, whether they don't have the money for it, or they don't have a connection to the team, because that is a real thing. And, they just don't have a way into some of these teams. And even though they're ready for that level, and it can be really frustrating for kids. And it's like, okay, well, what do I do next? Am I going to move out of state? I don't know how to approach that or go through that. It's a bigger process.
Yeah. And that's I think this conversation kind of comes full circle with some of our earlier episodes in terms of, right, you don't need to be on the AAA team, right? If you're ready for that, and if you can get into that, great, awesome, good for you. But you know what? If you can develop at a AA program, if you can become the best player you can be, right, you're in the same position now, right? So there's no cookie cutter way, one size fits all for everybody. More so, right? Talk to people, right? Network with coaches, network with friends that have been through it, right? Experienced people, and try to get to whatever level you think you can be the best at.
I think in terms of like networking, I think that's one of the biggest ways you can help yourself. Like for me, I remember I was going to spring skates, like developing relationships with these AAA coaches, and I knew I was ready for it. And I developed a good enough relationship where they felt comfortable with me and me playing on their team, and that's eventually how I got on a team. So yeah, if you want to get to that next level, you have to be able to communicate with these coaches and build trust with them so they feel comfortable taking you on their team. But I will say, like you're saying, there's no cookie cutter way. There is a time though, like I will say, like for the averages, you're gonna have to get to that AAA level at some point if you want to seriously advance to some higher levels. Like I've seen kids do it out of AA, but it can be really. I mean
It could
that's
be
tough
tough.
to do.
It
Like
could be tough.
averages, I see what you're saying, and I agree. Everyone has a different path, 100%. My roommate played AA. I mean, granted, it was D3 hockey, but he was still good, and he played AA his
Yeah.
whole life. Played tier 3, and he went to my school and did pretty good there. So there is different routes, but I think if you really truly want to advance, like you're gonna have to make that jump at some point. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to
Yeah.
be, it doesn't have to be your first year
I was gonna
U16,
say
maybe your second,
I was more saying
maybe
like in
like
that Pee Wee area, right? You don't have to be on the
right,
AAA team, but
yeah, like
you
what?
will be at some point.
Yeah, I think maybe I think like even like your U16s, you don't even have to, like if you play 2 years of U18s, you could still set yourself up for some
Yeah.
great success in the future.
Yeah, you got to make. Yeah, you
So
got to essentially play high level juniors to play college now. Definitely.
yeah, it's just such a bottleneck up there where
Yeah.
it's so competitive to get on those rosters. Okay, so we just had a pretty good rant on hockey. I like the topics we covered. I thought we did well on those. So I want to get into. You told me you have a little flight issue or a
Oh,
flight story. So I want to hear about it. I want to
it's more of a
get into it.
complaint. It's more of a
Ooh,
complaint,
my
and I feel like
favorite.
every
My
time,
favorite.
I feel like
My favorite.
every time one of us flies, something comes up. I think that just you put a
It's
bunch of
so
random people on a
easy.
plane
Yeah.
together, something's gonna happen. Something's
Yeah.
gonna happen.
Yeah.
Before that, shout out to my brother. I got this awesome. If you're watching on YouTube, no one told me hockey podcast hoodie. So my brother with
Ooh,
a great birthday present. So I wanted to shout him out before I forget. Okay, back
that
to the
is
flight.
unreal.
Back to the flight. If you're traveling on an airplane, please bring a bag. There is nothing more
What do,
suspect
what do they
than
got? Individual
somebody.
items?
Yet, not even that. If you're boarding a plane with just your cell phone, ugh, what are you planning on doing on this plane that you don't
That
need?
is,
Whatever location you're going to, you're telling me you don't need a backpack? You're
you
flying
know who?
from Minneapolis to Boston and you don't need a backpack? All you got is your phone in your pocket and your boarding pass. Are you
That's
planning
kind
on
of
taking over this plane while you're on the plane? Because that's what it
that's
looks
kind of
like.
sick. That's kind of sick though. Just phone in hand, nothing else.
That is to me, nothing is more
You know,
worrisome than boarding a plane. I got a neck pillow. I got a hoodie. I got my headphones. I got a backpack. I got a carry on. Right. I'm definitely going somewhere. I'm planning on making it to my destination. And I'm planning on needing to stay in that destination for an elongated period of time.
So you're saying
Now,
if you don't bring anything, you're not planning
no,
to go anywhere.
I'm saying you're boarding a plane. You're boarding a plane with just your phone. You you may be fine with this plane going headfirst into the Adirondacks. Like you're
Yeah,
telling me you don't need a change of clothes?
that's a great point. That's
You're telling me you
hilarious.
don't need a change of clothes? There is nothing more suspect. I'm getting on this plane, so I'll tell you the story. I'm getting on
Oh,
this plane,
funny.
right? We took the I told you, it was the first flight out of Boston on my way to Fargo, right? So
Mhm.
I make it to Minneapolis, right? It was a great flight. It was awesome. I'm now boarding a plane that is probably the size of a prop plane going from Minneapolis to Fargo. It's a
Yeah,
38-minute
little
flight.
jumper. Yeah.
38-minute flight. There's somebody boarding my plane wearing flip-flops. That's step one, strike one, right? You're wearing flip-flops.
That
It's the middle of the winter.
ultimate
It's the
strike,
middle of the
dude.
winter, and we're going to Fargo, North Dakota, where it's negative 11 degrees. You got flip-flops on.
Ultimate
You
strike.
have, ready for strike two, he's wearing shorts. Strike two.
No.
You're wearing shorts. You're not, okay. Ready for strike 3?
How old is this guy?
I'll get to the age. It gets worse. He's wearing a t-shirt. Strike 3. He does not have a jacket. Strike 4. Strike 5. He is wearing a sombrero. Not that he is indigenous or anything like that, right? He's just wearing a big hat. What? I don't know why he's wearing a big hat. I don't know why he's in flip-flops. We're not going to Key West. We're going to Grand Forks.
This is the plane from Minneapolis to
Fargo,
North Dakota.
Yes.
Okay, it wasn't okay. So he's no connecting flight from there to Hawaii. That's it.
No, we're not going to Minneapolis, Fargo, Hawaii. We're going stopping Fargo.
That plane is turning around.
So this guy's got flip-flops on. He's got shorts on, a t-shirt, a big hat. And to make things worse, strike 7, you're out. Many times over again, he boards the plane with no bag. With no bag.
Who is this guy?
I don't know who he is. If he is listening, please, sir, put on winter clothes and bring a backpack. I don't care what you put in it, but you are worrying everybody on this flight that you can get on that. Now, look, was he that worrisome? No. Right? I don't want to judge by appearance. He wasn't. Right? Was he friendly? Yeah, he was very friendly. Right? But it's a little suspect, right? Wherever you're going, you're telling me you don't need anything? You don't need anything.
Dang.
Not a phone charger? You don't need anything?
Maybe you put all his shit in the under.
Even so, you're telling me that on the plane, you're not going to need anything. That is so suspect to me. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I agree. No,
you got to have a bag.
That's hilarious. That is hilarious. You know who does this? I know someone who does this.
No. Your brother?
You know who? No,
Spoons?
Luke would never. Spoons. You know why?
He sleeps.
No. So we have our main house, house,
okay,
in Chicago, and then my parents also have a condo in Florida. So he has clothes down there already. So he brings nothing with him. He brings himself down there.
Okay, we got to work on that. We got to work on it.
I know, but but I agree. This guy though, it's almost like he's begging for attention. No, like if you,
you'd think so,
especially with the sombrero alone, and then you got the flip flops on with the shorts.
Going to Fargo.
Going to Fargo. That's begging for attention.
That and okay.
Now, do you think it's like a cover up? Like, oh, I'm gonna go in here and make a big scene so no one suspects anything suspicious out of me?
I don't know. All I know is that if you're boarding a plane and you don't have anything, where are you going? When? How long are you staying that you don't need anything? Nothing. Not even a bag of chips. Nothing.
How pissed would you be so you're sitting, there's a seat next to you wide open. You're like, oh God, this guy's sitting next to me. And he sits down, and when he sits down, his sombrero hits you in the eye.
When somebody sits next to me on a plane, it is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to meet someone, right? Not that I'm trying to become friends with them. More so if something. No. I'm not looking to make conversation. All I'm looking to do is make sure they're not up to something. Right? Like I sit down, I'm making contact, right? To let that person know that if something goes wrong, we got each other's backs. Right? That person sits down, I give one of these, right? Little, how you doing? Right? All I want back is a good how are you? That's it. That's all I want back.
So you're not looking investigating a little bit. You're doing a little investigation.
That's exactly right.
Them out, seeing how they talk.
That's exactly right.
Weird tendencies.
Maybe aware you headed. Maybe one of where you headed. Yeah. I'm headed home. A wedding. Okay, now I don't have to worry about you. I don't have to worry about you doing something crazy like boarding the plane without a bag. You're going to a wedding. You probably need something. I don't know. That's just me.
You're playing a dangerous game though by doing the introduction, because now you're opening up the door to a really long conversation with.
Yeah, but you know what I do. This is strategic here. Talk about strategic planning.
Slippery slope. You do the headphone off. You do one of these.
Yep. I start the music. Let them know I'm listening to music this flight.
You play it extra loud too, so they can hear it.
No, I'm not one of those. I'm not one of those. Some people do. Some people listen to music out loud. To let them know. To let them know, be like, oh, he's listening to a song, so he's just saying what's up, and then he's going to put it right back on and get back to music. That's probably in my wheelhouse. Yeah, I get what's up, where you headed? Okay, good. Boom. I'm here if you need anything. Boom. Like I'm not telling them that, but I'm letting them know that.
I'm here if you need anything. Like they need you for.
I'm letting them know that. I'm letting them know. I don't know. That's just me. That's my little airport routine. I'm checking people out. Do you have a bag? Do you not? If you don't, it's really, 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 really weird. I don't know. That's my
Okay.
opinion.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally agree. I think that's hilarious. Like, if you don't have a bag, like, you are going nowhere good.
And you're nothing wrong with this plane going down. You're not bringing anything.
That's
But
hilarious.
you don't need anything?
You left all your valuables at home because you don't plan on going back.
You're not, exactly. And even, exactly. Thank you.
Okay, so I got one here. So I haven't had too much public interaction lately because this is bad, but I haven't been going to the gym lately. And I stopped getting this vitamin D shot, and ever since then my energy level has been super low. But regardless, I haven't been going to the gym as much, but I go yesterday to do my swim, and then I'm stretching, and this is like the first time I've had a lot of social, cues or whatever you want to call, like
Interactions.
and interactions, and I'm doing, and this girl is like full out, two different girls were like full out dancing, like they were listening to their music and like doing like a routine. Different girls, they're not even by each other.
Okay.
And they're doing routines. How do you feel about the dancing in the gym? Like, like
you know what? I have a lot of respect for people that are able to kind of be themselves around others, but I'm a big believer, right? Let's not do anything out of the ordinary in any situation, right? If you're, for example, right, we're in the gym, right? You should be working out, you should be stretching, dancing. Okay, maybe that's an exercise, maybe it's a Zumba type of thing. I'm okay with that, right? But the second you start fiddling in a backpack in the gym, I don't need that. I don't need you fiddling with any backpack. I don't need you on the phone in the gym, right? Just do your thing, get in, get out. You're in the grocery store. I don't need you start looking in your back. I don't need that. I don't need that. It stresses me out.
My rule of thumb in public is you can see my two hands at all times. We don't go fiddling in things.
No,
we keep
not
our
these
hands
days.
out. Yeah, we keep our hands
not these
out,
days.
and we don't draw any suspicion to us. Not them doing anything suspicious, but we don't draw attention to ourselves. We stay in our lane and do our thing. And get in, get out, we're out. Then we go back to our home and we think about all the shit other people did that pissed you off.
And I unpack my backpack that I likely took on the plane with me because I'm a normal human.
That's actually so funny. All right, does this wrap it up for episode number 9 of the No One Told Me Hockey podcast?
I think it does.
Comedy podcast.
I think it does. We covered some good stuff, some college hockey programs, right? What to look for when you're going to college. We talked a little bit about youth hockey today. Give a huge shout out to my brother for this awesome No One Told Me hoodie.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's sweet.
And we talked about what to do on a flight. I feel like every time one of us travels, right, something comes up, but what are you going to do?
Just shake your head and
pack a bag.
That's all you can do. All right, I will talk to you later. See you, buddy.
All right, see you around.